What was the final straw that made you end a friendship? One of my friends from high school went full on traditional Christianism, thinking women should stay in their lane and let men run things. Started acting better than a number of us in our friend group, like he'd been enlightened after reading the Bible for a few weeks and discovering the truth, while trying to convert others into his new line of thinking. I had grown up with a narcissistic super religious father and had already decided to cut ties with him, so I was full aware of the type and where he'd be heading. Tried to reason with him about it, but he got pulled in too hard and had to let him go. I've had to let go several friends due to their romantic partners isolating them from their friend group, despite heavily trying to warn them about it, several who would not let go of exes, and some who just turned out to be general pieces of shit, cheaters, mostly men. Had one friend who had the nerve to actually delete my phone number and remove me off several socials, but still wanted me to come to her wedding. Like, who does that? I was friends with this girl in college. One semester my friend group, decided to be in a group for a semester-long assignment. There were multiple parts to the assignment. One was going on a class trip, each person taking a section of a paper, and then the last was a display of some sort. On the day we were compiling the display for class, this girl says she had a doctor's appointment but she would hurry back. That would be fine because everyone didn't get out of classes to meet up until a certain time. She didn't show up because she went out on a date and then got her car washed, which she posted on Snapchat. She showed up 20 minutes before the class started, and our other friend who had been helping us, who didn't even take the class, had to give her the what for because we were all so furious. It was after that I had looked back and realized it wasn't the first project she jeopardized, and she did some other shady shit like put another friend in a dangerous situation. After that I cut her out of my life completely. He would constantly bitch about how broke he was, how terrible his life was, how much he wanted to kill himself because of those things. But when I say, hey, maybe you wouldn't be broke if you actually bought groceries instead of eating out for every meal, maybe you'd save money by getting your THC in bulk jars direct from the manufacturer instead of buying a disposable vape at a shop every day, don't get high at work, you're going to get caught sleeping on the job and get fired. He screamed at me and said I didn't understand and why was I giving him a hard time. Blah blah blah. Okay. I dropped him. Called him up a few months later because he owes me money that I'll never see again, and guess what? Says he can't pay me back because he lost his job and his car's been repoed. Shocked. I'm shocked, I tell you. Oh well, it was totally worth $180 to not have to listen to that whining anymore. She was unvaccinated and refused to take a COVID test before seeing me. My mother was terminally ill and severely immunocompromised, so I was absolutely trying to minimize the risk of getting COVID so I could still see my mom. She refused to take a test, twice, despite kind and calm requests and explanations, on the basis that she didn't want to get a sinus infection. This was in the time of nasal swabs, not mouth swabs, for COVID tests. You know, those nasal swabs that are sterile and can't cause infection. I'm 100% sure that it wasn't about a sinus infection. It was about control. She had been annoyed because I hadn't validated her anti-vax stance in the past. Similarly, I know she wanted more validation for her religious views, which she'd acquired in her 30s and which I didn't share. I told her that I was happy her faith made her happy, but I think she wanted me to truly share her beliefs. I'd also said that her sister's bisexuality was fine with me when she'd stated that a wedding of two women was not what God wants. I think all of those different views just threatened the way she saw the world, and how she saw herself. Her last text thanked me for sharing my views re COVID and its potential to kill my mum, then became pseudo-concerned when I didn't reply. I read the whole situation as I want to say whatever I want to you, but I want to still feel like a nice person, so please reply and give me that validation. I didn't reply to her, but I still ask myself whether the mature thing to do would have been to clearly reply and state that I didn't want to stay in contact. It's taken me until now, over a year later, to see through the pain and formulate what I might have said. We've been friends since the first days of high school. 20 plus years. In essence, we just acquired very different views from each other as adults, but I can't pretend her attitude towards my mum, and towards the horrible journey my family had to take, wasn't devastating. Life is a bloody painful journey at times, that's for sure. She ruined my 21 birthday, Before that, she would only come to me for advice or a shoulder to cry on, but when I needed it, she would redirect the conversation right back to herself, and so much more that she would do. But the last straw was my birthday. I went all the way to her city, BC. She lives in the big city, and we would celebrate my birthday. So I was going to stay for 2 days. We were supposed to go to a restaurant, but she had invited some of her own friends to join us. But we never went to a restaurant now, did we? No, OFC not. She took me to a FKN club. I don't drink. I told her specifically that I didn't want to drink, and when I realized it was a club, I was so mad that I told her I didn't want to be there, and her other friends would jump in and make me uncomfortable to even have that conversation with her, so I just shut up. The next day I told her that was FKD up, and she apologized. She did the same thing that night. I went to her apartment by myself and left her at the club. I am really uncomfortable at clubs, I just don't enjoy it. She knew that. But did this anyway. It was long overdue to end the friendship. She had been such a negative and toxic impact on my life anyway for years, and it only took me a week to feel such a relief, and the weights on my shoulders just went away. I didn't realize how badly she was affecting my own mental health that it felt like paradise only a week after. This just happened to me this week. I realized she only wanted me around to have someone to complain to and go places with her because she hates being alone. We had been friends nearly 3 years, but the friendship started to sour back in January when she got back with her alcoholic, cheating husband. Slowly I started to realize she didn't care about my interests or how I was doing, and that we only ever did things she wanted to do. In fact, a lot of things I liked she said she didn't understand and they were dumb to her. Fair enough, I guess. My last straw though was her telling me that being called dramatic is bad for her mental health. I called her dramatic because she was being dramatic over a lice situation at work. We work in healthcare. It's not uncommon to get an outbreak of lice every once in a while. Our boss told her if she was going to freak out every time, she's definitely not in the right profession. She ended up quitting the very next morning through text. Well, I had decided to quietly go no contact with her and removed her from all socials. 2 days later she realizes this and starts spreading rumors to my coworkers that I was planning to quit with her and that I blocked her on everything. I'm just done with her. If she can talk shit behind my back that easily over me just not talking to her, what else has she said about me? That is not the kind of friendship I want. Sorry for the long rant. Was really good friends with this chick for 13 years. She started getting serious with her current boyfriend like 3 years ago. She had a stroke and I went to see her. I texted her a week or so after, she never responded. I texted her Merry Christmas a few weeks later, she never responded. A few weeks later, I wished her a happy birthday. She again didn't respond. I figured she was just going through her typical relationship, where she drops off the face of the earth for a bit and so I have her space. A year goes by and again, I wish her a happy birthday via text. No response. I figured she just grew apart. Her sister texts me that July saying she doesn't know what happened between my friend and me but asked if I could reach out. I explained what I've experienced, then she stops responding. 2 months ago my friend posted a rare Snapchat and I messaged her saying I missed her and hope she's alright. She messaged me a few hours later telling me you stopped talking to me. I have a text with timestamp and no reply. I was going to send it to her and try to defend myself, but I figured it would just be drama. I've tried reaching out, she never did, but blames me. Frustrating, a little disappointing, but just dumb. As good of and long of a friendship we had, I would think I'd get a friendlier response.